Greetings and welcome to our daily Devo for Saturday, the 25th of November. Today, my apologies to you if you had a big hole in your day yesterday without a daily Devo. Things just got extended on Thanksgiving Day, and I always do them the day before, so technically I'm doing this on Friday, but it is for Saturday morning, and wanted to make sure I got to it today before today also gets out of hand, because I think the plans are to decorate for Christmas today. So today's Devo is entitled, and again, pardon my voice. Pray for me if you would, please, that it won't be like this for preaching on Sunday. The cost of commitment. The cost of commitment, from Luke 14, verses 25 to 35. And the verse that they quote for us today is verse 33 of that passage. In the same way, those of you who do not give up everything you have cannot be my disciples. Try as I might, I cannot find a way to soften the challenge in these words. It is easy to follow Jesus, but it is hard to commit to the cost, because discipleship costs us everything. There was an air of casualness in the crowd, impulsively pressing in around Jesus. This prompted Jesus to comment on their commitment. He urged those within earshot to consider the cost of following him before taking another step. Failure to do so would be akin to a builder who failed to consider the cost of an entire project prior to laying the foundation. It would be like a king who set off for war without doing proper force assessment. But true disciples do more than consider the cost. They commit to the cost. Lest anyone misunderstand, Jesus made it clear in verse 33, those of you who do not give up everything cannot be my disciples. Everything? Did he mean everything? Jesus illustrates how serious he is by saying that everything includes the things that are most precious to his listeners, their families, and their own lives. This is not the cost of admission into the kingdom. We are given forgiveness as a free gift. But being a follower of Jesus can indeed, and often does, come with a price. That price is the product of living in a sin-ruined world. And partial commitment simply will not do. You are either in or you are out. Jesus highlights this with the mention of salt. The Dead Sea provided the people of Israel with sodium chloride. We know it as table salt. It came to their homes not in the refined grains that we know today, but as a chunk of stone that included both salt and other impurities. You would tap the chunk on a hard surface to liberate some of the salt. That's an interesting way to put it. But in time, the chunk would lose its saltiness and become so dominated by impurities that it was not good for anything, not even the manure pile. Dried manure was often used as a fuel source for cooking in Jesus' day, much like our own Native Americans used buffalo patties for that. And people believed that this fuel was enhanced by adding salt to it. Chunks that had lost most of their salt were not even useful for this lowly task. Jesus' point: partial commitment is no commitment. And the cost of commitment is everything. Makes me think of the verse where Jesus says, how do you call me Lord, Lord, and then not do what I say? It is indeed an all or nothing proposition, just as it was for Jesus coming to earth to go to the cross. It was all or nothing. And so a devotion like this, verses like this, the interaction, the teaching of Jesus, insist upon us that we look at our commitment to Christ, our 100% commitment to Christ, and then begin to take stock. What do I put before this commitment to Jesus? My choices in life, my scheduling. What do I talk most about? What do I think most about? What is of such value to me that, for just this one time, I'll say no to Jesus? This isn't about what he told the rich young ruler, as we call him, to do, go and sell everything and come back and give it to the poor and then come back and follow me. This is how we live. This is a regular life, how we live each day. But who calls the shots in what we do with what God has blessed us with? What we have the ability to control and make decisions on. That's where we find the truth, whether we are a true disciple or not. All in or all out. The cost of commitment. We have earthly commitments. Job we get is a commitment. A spouse that we marry, that's a commitment. None of us would want to be married to a spouse who said, I'll be with you 4 days out of the week, and somebody else 3 other days a week. We expect, when we get married, we expect. And those are in the vows that we ask married couples to make. We're committed to you now. With everything I am, with everything I have, I'm committed to you now. And obviously, we also see that sometimes that doesn't hold up. It's got to hold up when we make that kind of commitment to Jesus, when we take up our cross daily and follow him. It means death to self. Doing that. But the reward is great. Peter claims after that rich young ruler walks away, and Jesus talks about how difficult it is for the rich to get into heaven. Why? Because they're counting on all their other stuff, and they love their other stuff. Peter and the disciples kind of misunderstand that, and because their understanding would be, hey, if you're rich, you can pay and do lots of good deeds and that gets you into heaven. Of course, that's a misunderstanding. Completely wrong. But Peter says, Lord, we've left everything to follow you. Jesus doesn't dispute it. They did. They left the family business. They walked away from what their life had been and followed Jesus. And Jesus says, for those who do that, for those who've left houses and lands and families for my sake, shall inherit that back and so much more in this world and in the one to come. That's the commitment. Everything else behind. We seek first God's kingdom and his righteousness, and then trust the Lord that he will take care of the rest. Blessings to you today on this Saturday.